And I don't know if we're already recording or not, Ryan. Just let me know when to get going here. Okay, we're live. I'm going to go through our trade alert, then open up for Q&A. Today's a sad day for America. I figure we have lost this current battle, and I believe we're now entering a war with China. So that's what I think is the big picture happening, an attack on the dollar, which is working. So unfortunately, we predicted this, and it's been playing out day by day. Currently, we're up between 500 to 700% on 3 call options we issued. If you have bills that you need to pay, I would sell some of those and take some profits, and get some, if those are really going to be important for you in the next 90 days. But if you're well off and want to hold, that's what I'm doing with our track record. I do think that we're going to have a pullback in the TLT and a huge rally in the SPY before the next big leg down. But unfortunately, the big panic is still not here. We may have had a pretty substantial financial panic over the weekend, but in terms of the public panicking, that's yet to really unfold. So this is really based on my 12 hours plus of tracking this in China from when they started off with about 70 cases. So I've watched it unfold, collected all the videos of what happened to China, and have thoroughly studied what they had to do to survive. So I think it's foolish to think that other nations won't have to take the same steps China has taken and are still taking to survive this, what I believe is a bioweapon. So short-term prediction, look for a pop in the SPY, maybe. I would be betting on it if it wasn't so slanted to lose. In the meanwhile, the next big move after bonds get perfectly priced is likely gold. Because why? Well, if the bonds go to zero, U.S. government's going to have a very hard time if everyone sells their bonds at the same time. It would spike yields. So if you remember that warning, stock market crashes, bond market gets perfectly priced, then everybody sells at once, and that puts our bond market at risk. This will force the Fed to print and buy up all the debt at 0% interest rates. So you could totally see them wanting to do that. But if the quantity of money is going to rapidly increase, and we're talking going from 4.5 trillion balance sheet to trillions more in the short order, then that'll make the relative value of gold much more lucrative. So we have a gold miner position in our pro program, still not jumping yet, but I do think we'll see spot gold rally first, and then the gold miners catch up. Now, spot gold is held by, and GLD ETF is held by a untrustworthy bank, HSBC. So I only like to buy call options on that product, GLD, while I don't mind holding the gold miners. Also, the potential run up for gold miners is greater than that of spot gold, but we still expect gold to go up first. Okay, so we are long the 320 TLT. If you do need to take some money and feel like you're not risking it all, I would sell that one and hang on to these two. And I will add to that position if we get a pullback. If not, in our pro program, remember, we are long the TLT with about 40% of our capital. So at some point we'll have to say, okay, that's enough profit. Let's not get crazy and get out. Now, potentially the Fed will just essentially lock interest rates by doing massive QE. They've talked about that. Potentially they go to negative rates. This is really a very, very bad situation that's unfolding quickly. So what's the ceiling for TLT? It just really depends on how unorthodox the Federal Reserve wants to get. And really that also relates to how low rates go over in Europe. So we'll look at what Germany does. But the time to sell everything related to TLT is coming soon. What I think happens next is, again, a prolonged economic slowdown, with a supply and demand shock at the same time. Massive stimulus in the form of quantitative easing. Look at what Hong Kong just did. They're handing out people $10,000 because they can't work. So this is very bad. Just bottom line, very bad. And there's no end in sight. Okay, so let's just look at so the trade alert again. We've been showing the SPY and the TLT relative to one another. At some point, I believe these will cross, and shortly after that is probably a good time to get out of the TLT. If you guys remember, I was thinking the maximum the TLT could go would be between 175 to 200. And so we're already, what are we at right now? 173.88. And I think we're as high as 182 this morning. So I think we do have a final push higher on the TLT before it becomes absurd. And it's already absurd, but with the current conditions, I think it will get more absurd. It's about $800 billion that's essentially being held hostage, I guess you could say, in the 30-year treasury. And so they want that 30-year treasury to probably go to zero, and then for the Fed to buy it all, is what I expect to happen. So we've had smart investors slowly fighting over that top shelf bond, 30 years. So you get 30 times leverage compared to, like, say, a 1-year treasury. And it has the furthest to move lower. So not only does it have the most potential appreciation, it's 30 times leveraged compared to something like a 1-year bond. So again, watching that SPY TLT correlation, I do expect they'll cross, and that the SPY has far further to fall. Okay, so step one, if you're following this, hold on to your horses. There's going to be some really easy money on the SPY at some point, just not yet. So for now, we're in cash and we're playing the market safely with small call option bets. And this is just insane. But we risked, with these 3 call options for our basic membership, if you had just put about $300 into each call, your total return on capital is 15.7%. That's not normal. That's how crazy these times are. So we risked $900 and have achieved a 15% total return in just a few weeks. So that's something like hitting the green on the roulette table 3 times. Okay, it's actually even better than that. Okay, so the Pro program is up 12%. It has a long put on emerging markets doing well that I think will do a lot better. So we're still long that. But it has a lot of capital in the TLT. So we do need to get out of the TLT probably in about 2 to 4 weeks, most likely, unless this just all implodes faster. I probably won't hold the TLT over 200. That's, to me, seems like playing with fire, and we've already made enough money to basically just call it a year and just sit back. I'm not saying we're going to do that, because I think we can make a ton of money in gold, and then I think we make a ton of money getting stocks potentially anywhere from people seem to think 50% is going to be the bottom, but I think it's going to be closer to 75%, unless the Fed suddenly comes up with a new rule that they can buy stocks, which European central banks and Japanese central banks do. In fact, Japan owns 80% of their stock market. So we might make a lot of money this year. And again, I will be looking to get out of the TLT, just not yet. I do think the next thing that happens is entire cities go into lockdown and quarantine, and a lot of death starts to proliferate in the United States. And that will probably be the peak madness, the big leg down, limit downs in the open market. We had it in the futures market, and that's when we'll start to be concerned about the bond market. Also, if this is an attack, what's the next move? Well, stock market's crashing, check mark. Bond market's getting to the point of no return. So check mark, they're about on the end game for that. If their true goal is to ruin the dollar, then they need to force the Fed to buy all the debt, and which will push the dollar much lower. And it's already starting to tank. So far, if we were to assume those were the goals of the enemy, to crash the stock market, push the bond market to zero, force the Fed to buy up the bonds, and then crash the dollar, it's working. Current trade alert is again to pick up this longer expiration GLD call option coming in at 485 as the asking price. So I'm only recommending one GLD call per 30,000 that you want to follow with our basic program. So let's just go back up and clarify this as a common misconception. If you have between $30,000 and $75,000, it's highly recommended you only follow the basic program where we're trying to trade the SPY, just not when there's a global pandemic wrecking markets. So this is an oddball time where we're sitting our cash on the sideline and just playing the markets with call options. So if you're following the basic program because you have less than $75,000, but more than 30,000, then your best bet is to buy one call option per 30,000 following the program. Now, if you are in our pro membership, the big goal is to have a more diversified portfolio that's really just bulletproof, atomic bomb proof, and I guess we'll have a new slogan, pandemic proof. So keep in mind that even though this one is currently having a higher return, that's just because it has more cash relative to the call options. Note that this portfolio has had losing months 1, 2, 3, 4 months out of 15. Okay, so each month we lost, we're lucky that the SPY did rebound. We could have lost a little bit more than we did. Now we have a lot of protection in that system. Biggest loss in a month was only 1.9. The pro program is really, I'm very proud of this track record. And what's notable is throughout pretty crazy 15 months, we've only lost 1% in a single month. There's only been one losing month in 15. So if you're following the pro program, today's trade alert is relative to your 40% position, which is earmarked for buying the SPY. You're not buying the SPY today, okay? And today's trade alert has nothing to do with your GDX position. This is just this is a replacement trade for the SPY because I do think there's further downside risk ahead for S&P 500. Now, again, I am expecting a pop simply from people who sold put options, which are big banks. They're going to be covering those puts, which means they have to buy the S&P 500. Now, the big question is, are they going to hang on to that or are they going to exit? So if you get 1% of the population selling at the same time, that's about $300 billion of market cap. They can probably handle that for a few days. You get 2 or 3% of the public panicking. Now we're talking about close to $1 trillion trying to sell at the same time. The banks can't handle that. So that's how we're positioned right now. So again, if you're in the basic program, per 30,000 you want to invest, I'm recommending one GLD call option today. And that is again the expiration April 17th. So that gives us a little bit of time for quantitative easing. So gold really reacts well to quantitative easing, not necessarily just fear and panic and stock crashes. So bond market does well when you think there's economic slowdown because there'll be rate cuts, which artificially makes bonds go up. So again, probably some big rate cuts coming and probably another big leg up for TLT ahead. Gold is going to react to quantitative easing, which I believe will be done at a historic level to protect the bond market from crashing. Now, here's a look at your GLD. So if you're in our buy and hold program, this is only issued on Mondays. So you get to join us on our Monday webinars, but you miss out on Wednesday, Friday. Our pro program, you're missing out on the Thursday if you don't join that. This is currently based per 7,500 bucks. You'd have 3,000 ready to buy the SPY. You'd have 20 shares of the TLT, 20 shares of GDX, 10 shares of Yang, that's the inverse Chinese ETF, and an additional $440 in cash, which we may add to the Yang position. So the buy and hold portfolio is doing well, up 6.3% in 2020 and 6.9% in March. It's always happy when our more expensive advisories outperform the basic ones. So you're starting to see those options pay off. Okay, so that's a good review of the trade alert and our intentions. Let's go ahead and open up for Q&A. And we have quite a few people live. Welcome, everybody. And sorry, I'm not more joyful about these returns, but I do think that America has a pretty rough period ahead of it. So let's go ahead and start taking questions. Ryan, if you want to start with Tony Layton. And please raise your hand if you would like to speak so that we can unmute your microphones one at a time. Okay, Tony, your microphone is muted if you want to unmute it.
Hey, Jason, he just typed in he didn't have a mic, but let me read you his question, okay? Okay, so first he said I closed out my TLT stock and also my TLT options Friday due to the rally. Would you just sit on the side or re-enter the trades that I closed Friday? Value is now 300,000. And then he followed that up with,
okay, I see it, yeah.
Okay, do you need to move the put up on the TLT?
Yeah, so right now, Tony, my recommendation is to hold put, no change. So you're going to have basically done nothing today except buy a call option on GLD. So our put option is not protecting us anymore. It's probably worth zero. And I did not buy a put today. I did not sell a call option today, and I did not sell the TLT today. Now, if you want to just say, hey, I made enough money for an entire year of returns, maybe see where we're at on Wednesday or Friday, then I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you. My fundamental analysis, you know, if you're using technical analysis today, you're probably getting the hell out. You're just like, this is nuts. If you're looking at logic in terms of why you'd buy a 30-year treasury that yields almost nothing, you probably get out. If you looked at RSI and momentum and all sorts of things like that, you probably buy stocks today. Okay, but if you understood what China had to do to survive, and then assume that that's what America will have to do to survive, you're not getting out yet. So fundamentally, the core reason that these trades are working is just begun. And it really saddens me to tell you guys this, but I think we're in for a rough ride. Now, Scott Cole wrote in, longtime member. He says, hey, bud, it's old timer here. Good to hear from you, buddy. Glad you're hopping on with us. Why are you comparing today to Pearl Harbor? I believe this is a biological weapon that's been deployed by the Chinese to crash the dollar. That's just the summary of it. We'll save all the details for our Thursday webinar. So I wish that was not the case, but unfortunately, it does look like our markets are under attack. And I think our hospitals are going to be overran in short order and probably start seeing some cities getting locked down, schools being canceled, things of that nature. Yeah, America's slowly, the giants being awoken. That's what's happening right now. So I think first we have to prepare to take care of our people. Okay, Murray says, should we have the same quantity of TLT options for each put? So right now, Murray, our put's completely useless. It's not protecting us. We're up so much. If you want to protect your TLT position, I wouldn't blame you. And perhaps buy a 1 to 2 week put option to protect. Right now, I do suspect that TLT is going to go much higher because we haven't hit peak panic. And so that's just the bottom line. The peak panic is not here yet. And that's when we want to sell. Once we're at the peak of the panic, that's when we're going to get the biggest leg down, the biggest pop in the TLT. And that's when we're going to get the hell out of Dodge in terms of playing the bond market.
Yeah, and Murray, what I've noticed and just team, I just follow the exact alerts. It's really the easiest way to do things.
So you guys, look, Mark was outperforming me for a little bit, but now he's not. So if you want to try to time the markets, I only trade at our designated trade time so that we don't have anybody missing out. So I have some limitations. It forces me to be a little more patient. And so,
hey,
so
Jason,
yeah.
this is Mark. Hey, I actually made so much last week that I'm still outperforming you.
Oh, he's got to brag.
But I did close them out on Friday. Man, I wish I didn't, because then I'd really be up big time.
How much extra money would you have made, do you anticipate so far if you hadn't sold that?
I would have made an additional $100,000 today.
Wow.
Mark, what are you up outside of that? What are you up today? Just outside of that.
I am up 44.
Nice. Very nice. Beautiful.
So
That's just
also
gains today plus last week, right?
no, 44 is just today, and then
Okay.
last week was like.
What's
I
your
think it was
total return in March? Like 20% or so?
I don't know. I didn't calculate that. It's pretty damn good. And it basically went from 750 to 950 in the last 45 days.
Well, good job, Mark. Good job. You're doing great.
And it's not all the trades you've recommended. I've added a little bit on there, but all the trades that have made me money are a result of me following your advice and taking your information and then making some of my own decisions on top of that.
Very good.
So yeah,
Let's
it's been a big help. Also, I sent you the email.
okay.
I sent it a few minutes ago, and one of the things that you were looking at is the warm weather and how that's playing out. I think India is kind of maybe a big indicator, because India really has extremely low case count, and you would think that country of all others would have rapid spread because they are highly populated, they're densely populated close together, and their medical system is not quite what some of the other countries are. They're just not getting the spread. I mean, maybe they're not testing, and maybe that's what's causing the low numbers like we were seeing in the US, but they don't appear to be getting the spread. And so it would appear that maybe warmer weather and summertime like conditions may put a significant slowdown to it. Maybe. This is all conjecture, and who knows.
Yeah, that's a big maybe for sure. Okay, let's pull up just for fun Anwar, who just joined. Anwar, are you there? Can you give us, I think he's been in the program for like 72 hours. And how are you doing, Anwar?
Good. I should go to my. I sold TLT this morning. Was that a good idea?
Well, tell me, what did I just? What do you think based on the presentation so far?
I just joined you. I did not start. I have to get used to your timing and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I just have question. You said to buy gold coal, but you didn't say how much, or maybe I missed it.
Good questions. Okay, so I don't blame you for I don't blame anybody for taking profits on TLT. If I could have rushed us all out this morning when it was at 182, I probably would have, and then looked for a dip to get back in. But then nobody would be ready for it. We'd all be chasing, we'd all be freaking out trying to understand what to do. It'd be chaos for the advisory. My recommendation is to hold the TLT position. So I do think it's going significantly higher, unfortunately, which means America has a lot more downside ahead. So that's one. Two, so you're following us with approximately 1 million flat, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you would buy, this is relative to our 40% position. So you'd have 400,000. So you'd be buying, let's see, what is that? $400,000. Divided by 30,000. So 13. So this says per 30,000 following the SPY system. So if you're in our pro membership, which you are, that means you only put 40% of your capital into the SPY. But right now we're saying don't buy the SPY. I think it's going to crash further.
Yeah.
So with assuming you were trading a flat million, then you would buy 13 of these GLD calls. Now I was tempted to sell the TLT just like everybody else this morning. But if I was looking at RSIs, if I was looking at any normal metric, this would be buy the dip on the stock market, take the profits on the bond market and run. But unfortunately, my fundamental analysis tells me that we're just at the very tip of the iceberg with the panic. So yeah, my portfolio has 40% TLT, 40% GDX. I have half the cash. I have a put option on emerging markets, which is I wouldn't buy today. And I'm still holding all 3 TLT calls. And now I have 2 GLD calls.
I'm sorry, Jason, can you repeat that allocation again? Because I thought I heard you wrong.
Sure. So I'll just go through the software so you can see it. Okay, so this is based on started with 1.2, we're at 1.6. Okay, so here's how we have it organized. SPY tab. What's going on here, Google? Okay, so in this portfolio, I have cash, 100% cash. I sold the SPY on March 2nd. Okay. I have no options sold, which would normally be in this area. And then over here, I store my long options. So I still need to add in today. Just show you guys how easy it is to fill out your spreadsheet live. What did we pay for that? $485. So what I do is when I first buy it, I just mark it as the same price. So it returns a flat and then I update it. Now here's where I'll sell it, but that's to be determined. So I'm just updating these prices each day. Now we've had a little tiny pull. These are probably pretty close. These are probably a little less now. But they're, still up a lot. I don't know if they've pulled back that much, but this is where they were at just about 20 minutes ago. Okay, so I have the TLT call option expiring on 3/20. Probably sell that in the next I'll probably sell all these in the next big panic, to be honest. But we have until not this Friday, but next Friday. So if you guys remember my whole trick about how you want to sell with half your time premium left when you reach your target and to buy the strike that's halfway. Well, in this case, we've severely underestimated how far the TLT could travel in such a short time. So we're better off hanging on for a bigger pop. So these I think can go somewhere between 30 to 40 now. So we're looking at, if we get 30, it's 1,100% return. If we get to 40, it'd be a 1,500% return. And so that means we go another $10 to $20 higher to hit that. Basically every dollar we go higher, that should give us about another dollar on the sell price. So we are long these calls. And again, what a beautiful play, because we had so little risk. We're in cash in this portfolio. We put on these little call options and we're still hanging on. So if you need the money, take the money and run. You've made a great return. Okay. The safer play now is to start. If you need money to live on, I would sell your TLT calls and say, hey, it was a good day. Okay. Get all your backup contingency plans ready in case I'm right and things get really nasty here. The next big opportunity that we want to leg into is the big push in gold. So if you're in a position where you're already quite wealthy, these could go to zero. You wouldn't, it wouldn't ruin your life. I think they're going to go dramatically higher. So I'm still holding. Even though I wanted to take some profits today, my analysis says it's going to get worse. And we still got 2 weeks on this one, 3 weeks on this one, and 4 weeks on this one. So for the foreseeable future, unless we get a substantial pullback in the TLT, which we could, then I would add to the TLT position. Otherwise, most likely we'll be starting to load into GLD call options for the foreseeable future. So that's how if you're in our basic program, this is all you're doing. You're just sitting here buying these cheap call options and sitting in cash. Now, if you're in our pro program, you have a put option, which is up 500% on emerging markets that we entered on February 20th. And we still got a lot of time premium on that. In our basic program, or rather our pro program, we're still long TLT with 40%. So you can see I still have that position. And I've marked, I didn't even look, but I'm sure the put's worth basically nothing now. So I marked that put as a pure loss. So we gave up 285 of our profit for that protection. Looking back, that was a waste, but obviously we're not hurting. And in this portfolio, I have GDX, 10%. Now, again, I've been telling you guys, expect GLD to go up first, faster. And then once it slows down, we see a big pop in GDX. GDX are American Canadian companies who primarily are in that ETF. So I like to own that asset for a long run. I think it's going to triple, quadruple in the next year or two, maybe sooner. It's all based on QE, which I think is coming out sooner than we expect. GLD is owned by HSBC Bank, which I don't trust with as far as I could throw them. So short-term call options are the best way to profit from that asset. So if they somehow end up bankrupt and that ETF goes to zero and they don't actually have any gold, well, then we lose 450 on the call option. Otherwise, we might double, triple it if GLD goes up a couple bucks. So that's how I have the portfolio organized. Oscar, any questions?
No, I thought I misheard you and you said 40% in GDX, but
10, yeah, 10.
10%.
Let's see. Let's hear from Murray if he's on next. Murray, you there? You got your mic? Oh no, he's not. Is he on? I don't see Murray on. Oh, let's do.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Murray. How you doing, buddy?
Good. I have one question. I've been doing fantastic. I mean, this has been an amazing week. So
Yeah.
we can close out that put on the TLT, did you say?
Yeah,
it's
it's not doing you any
practical.
good.
Now, are we supposed to have the same number of options on the TLT for every one of those 3 call dates?
Uh, so the TLT, let's just review. So this is where so basically, Mary, we sell 2 products. One, and you're in you got everything we've ever bought. So, uh, for new people, they're just following this tab with the SPY, and they just have these call options. So once we had the first death in the United States in Washington State, that's when I threw up the red flag and said, that's it. We're done with stocks. Okay. Because I knew at that point we'd have more and more deaths. And if you remember, and I've been screaming and hollering about this for a long time, I thought hospitals would start getting cases on the 7th and we'd start seeing deaths by the 15th. And unfortunately, we started getting deaths before March even began. So I knew the timing I was late. So I said, that's it, we're out. We got the record jump in the SPY the day after I told you guys to get out.
Right.
Everybody thought I was an idiot. And, but it lasted all of 72 hours. And then our portfolio started really making a lot of money. So the call options that I've been recommending on the TLT and GLD have nothing to do with your underlying holdings in the ETF of the TLT and the GDX. That's relative to our SPY.
No, my question was, we have 3 TLT call options. Are we supposed to have the same quantity on each of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's where I goofed. Okay.
The more the better. I think you were accidentally doing twice because you thought it was relative to the TLT. So you're killing it. I mean, you must be up so much. How much are you up today? Do you know?
Well, it was 128, but now it's 107.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Nice. That's our first 6-figure testimonial live. Congratulations, Mary.
So expect a pullback in our positions, guys. I'm expecting them to do everything they can to protect the stock market as long as they can. So that means TLT should pull back. Stocks should go up.
But the calls could pull back too then.
Oh yeah. They're all, yeah. So I'd expect to see our profits go down for a while until the next big panic. And I think the big panic's not here. The big panic is LA gets quarantined.
But you said in newer people that opening a TLT as well as the calls is okay.
So new people joining us are starting off in cash and they're just buying these call options. They don't own the TLT ETF.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you wouldn't buy new TLT because I have some other funds that I could look more into TLT.
Just follow the system with all capital at all times and don't try to guess, what to do and when.
But you're telling new people don't buy the TLT, just buy the call option.
No. Let's clarify. So if you just join our pro program, you have 40% of your wealth in the TLT ETF and you have 10% in GDX.
Okay.
And you have half cash. If you've just joined the SPY program, you're 100% in cash and you have these call options.
Yeah, and to preference that, Jason, we probably have more trial people on here today than normal. But for trial people, you're just following the call options that we're putting out. Okay, and today specifically it was on GLD. We typically like to own the SPY, and we would love to own the SPY, but there is not enough blood in the streets yet to consider jumping back in. So that's kind of the heads up on that, guys. And instead of taking the risk of owning the SPY, what we're doing is simply replacing that with call options, and that's really kind of outperforming to the upside like wildfire. Typically it'll be a little bit more tame. And our whole goal here, guys, is consistency, right? So as Jason's kind of pulling up on our screen, we're not trying to make 11.5% a month, guys. That's just what happens when you have a very defensive setup.
We only risk $900 per 30,000 to hit a 15% return. So, yeah, the key to our system is I'll never risk very much money.
Yep. It's all
So-
about Warren
so it's-
Buffett's number 1 and number 2 rules, baby.
Yeah, just not normal to, let's go ahead and hear, any other questions, Murray? Is that?
No, that's clarifying. Good.
Okay, very good. Well, okay, good. Stay safe, Murray. And, we love you. Murray's been following this like a rock star for quite some time. So
Since July.
since July, huh? So we've had some boring months. We've had plenty of boring months, huh? Karen, let's go ahead and speak to Karen next. Hey, Karen, how's it going?
I was going to say,
Karen was trying to tell me to stay calm on Friday. I was like, I don't think so. Or Saturday.
well,
huh?
no, I just wanted to, I didn't want you, I wanted to keep you focused, maybe. I don't know, whatever. I wanted to make sure that you were,
You don't want me to
because
go
you're
on
right.
tilt.
yeah, I needed your, I just wanted to make sure you were okay.
No, I'm good. I'm prepared.
Okay, good. And I think I've gotten a majority of my question answered by listening to some of the rest, but being that unfortunately I don't have everything in your system at this point because of all the other years of things that are kind of stuck in other areas. I do have to try to manage it as best as I can. I was trying to understand, however, in addition to, and I think you kind of said it. I mean, you're expecting. I did not get rid of the TLT calls. I'm holding them, although I was tempted, but I held on to it because I want to stick with the program. But I'm trying to understand where your thinking is, because you're on this. Where you think the next shoe will drop, and when you I mean, I'm not going to hold you to it, obviously, but based on all of this data, because you've sufficiently freaked the heck out of me, I'm curious to see, and you just said, well, if LA closes, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of think California's got a big problem, but and what I sent to you about that. I'm just wondering when you're thinking that next shoe will drop, so I can do whatever mitigation I can at other levels of things that I am responsible for. Do you have an idea, a kind of a range of time or a catalyst that you're looking for? Because obviously everything, when this thing hits, it hits hard and fast, and there's certain things I can't do right now, but and like that 1 and 2 weeks is really kind of close. That's why I'm wondering your thinking, your time frame on this, because yeah, I will take that.
Here's what we need to. Here's what you guys need to. This is unfortunately what it appears to be the truth. 80% of the population will be infected in the next 18 months. Okay, whether you hide or not. 15% will be very sick, but not necessarily need hospitalization. Unfortunately, those 15% may have disease repercussion that's never resolved. So you'll survive, but there may be damage that never goes away. 5% will need ICU. Okay, so when, if these numbers are even close to correct, the hospital system is going to break down in the near future. 20%, here's 20% will get sick, will get infected, and never know they even had it and spread. So if
now, where are you coming up with these numbers?
This is studying a lot of data.
Okay.
This is my best estimate of what the truth is. Okay, so this is not CDC official data. That's what I think is going to play out, unfortunately. So if this is true, it's impossible to stop the spread. Now, whether you want to believe this was an accident or on purpose, it doesn't, as far as the short-term repercussions to U.S. economy, doesn't matter if it was on purpose or not. Now, it may be important for trying to predict what happens at some point in the geopolitical sphere, which would relate to some of our trying to short Chinese currencies. But as you can see, America's on the defense, not the offense. The dollar is crashing. All our markets are crashing. And our hospital systems are likely to be overwhelmed in the near future. So this is the problem. And so, yeah, I think in short order, unfortunately, we'll see the next big move probably within a month or less.
And then also too, Jason, what we were talking about over the weekend. I mean, guys, we just had the biggest drop in oil prices, right, since the Gulf War.
We may see it this week, guys. I mean, we may see this today. This is bad.
Well, yeah, I kind of felt like that's, it was coming from all sides. It's like everybody ganging up on us on purpose. And then I started, I know you want to wait till Thursday. I'll wait on that then.
Jason, you're off by your limit, down by 1 trading day so far too.
Jason, are you considering an ERY negative on oil at all? Or is it all over to the bottom already?
I was telling my buddy who has a natural gas company to short oil last week. Boy, he would have made a lot of money if he had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Made a fortune. No, so for me, guys, I have the assets I like to be an expert at. So I'm not going to really, I don't have, I'd need a whole team of people working under me to really start going outside of what I'm already studying.
Okay.
So I'm pretty happy with the assets we have. If we can predict their direction, we can make a lot of money and we can do it safely and focus our effort. And so, I like to trade China just because I know they're the big wild card. And thank God we were tracking China, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have seen this coming from a mile away. I've been tracking China for the better part of 15 months with every split second. So it all makes sense. It's awful. It's horrifying. And it's just getting started. So that it's it is what it is, it's time to prepare. People are waking up. I could sit here and tell you everything, but the smartest people I talk to still don't want to believe it. I talk to very sophisticated people who think there's 3,000 deaths in China. If you think that's the case, then none of these trades make sense. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and go to the next question. But yeah, so we have a relatively simple position right now. I think the TLT will cross the SPY. That'll be a pretty good signal that time to start taking some profits. So let's look at it just here. Let me pull the last few up. We'll just watch that little slow motion train wreck here. Okay, so this has been the graphic I've been putting in our video daily. So here we are on last Wednesday. You can see there's a constant tug of war between stocks and bonds. And so if you do believe there's a fundamental reason that economies will slow down, you want to bet on bonds and bet down on stocks, which I believed was going to be the case for quite some time, especially starting February 1st. We have a video warning people this was going to happen, and it has 20,000 views, and now it's being censored. Go figure. Just as of Saturday. So they're literally scanning all content that has the word of the you know what and censoring it now, which is also alarming, of course. But you know, Pence is telling us, oh, we got 1 million tests going out, but the catch is the state official has to approve all the testing. So they're going to test dead people. That's what's going to happen. So we'll have a pretty accurate count of how many dead people there are in America with coronavirus, for whatever good that is. Okay, so we have the 3-4. You can see this big gap between SPY and TLT. 3-6 closed the gap significantly. 3-9 this morning, it is approaching. Still kind of closing in on it. I do believe these will cross. And it's because of this. Now, okay, so what can we do about it? Well, I didn't have enough time to really get into this, but I believe the SARS virus, they created a vaccine and everything they tested on died. That kind of sucks. A lot of scientists are saying that it looks like a copy paste. Okay, so it looks like you take the part of the SARS virus that connects to the cell, the mechanism for connecting to the cell and infiltrating into the cell is like the outside part of this virus. And the inside virus, the little RNA, that little snake that sneaks out there and hijacks your DNA, that looks like it has similarities to HIV. So it looks like you have a Frankenstein virus that's a combo of those two. Now that's not my specialty. That's just the bet, but that's what's being misreported here. And that's why we have that's why we were able to outperform the market so significantly, is understanding that they're not telling us how severe this is. So we have a nasty little virus that is impossible to stop. Our government's not testing anyone to prevent a panic. So if you realize that the panic's yet to come as people start to die and the ICUs get maxed out, not to mention you can't put these people in the existing hospital system. They'll make everyone else sick. So peak panic is yet to come by my analysis. So that puts us in a good spot to have half our money in cash, 40% following the TLT if you're in the pro program. If you're just getting new with us, then I would do not take these old trades, okay? Only take trades when they're issued. We're already up substantially. So all you should be doing if you're brand new is buying that 417 GLD call. So what's going to happen next? Bonds get to an extreme. The Fed has to intervene and protect the bond market by buying those bonds so that they don't have to risk everybody selling them at the same time and collapsing the US bond market. And then that forces them to dramatically increase their balance sheet, which weakens the dollar, which I believe is the end game of this attack. So that will make the relative value of gold against the dollar go up. So we're betting down on the dollar by betting up on gold, expecting quantitative easing after the rate cuts. So first rate cuts, bond gets perfectly priced, then QE comes in and dollar loses value. So that's what I think will happen next. Let's see, next question. Go ahead and hit your hand raising button if you do have a question, so we can answer them one at a time. Kathy C, please.
No question. I just went ahead and sold that almost worthless put for 6 cents.
Okay, good. Yeah, that thing's worthless now. So Tuesday, tomorrow, at some point, I'm going to buy a put for our pro membership to protect our TLT. Or just get out for a huge profit. So we'll stay tuned. There may be a trade tomorrow for pro, even though we normally just trade on Thursday. Well, this market may not even last through the day. We'll have to just play this by ear, but Yeah.
Jason, it seems like maybe picking up some cheap puts on the way up, keeping it the cost of the investment in them very low, with enough time might pay off once we peak and bonds start dropping. What do you think of that?
I think TLT is going to go up to a pretty crazy level and then just stay in a range bound. Because if you read the Fed minutes, they talked about all this happening, not a coronavirus, wrecking the world, but they did talk about how to deal with the effective lower bound, is what they call it. Let's just look at what it costs to protect you guys, for those of you guys who are concerned. So if we wanted to protect our huge position in the pro program, what would it cost? Let's just curiously, let's look. Oh man, it's not even trading, is it? Or maybe Yahoo's. What's a 176 put cost right now for whatever duration? Let's say March 27th.
Yeah, what time frame are you looking at?
Let's say March 20th. How about?
That's not very far out. Okay, and then what time? I'm sorry, what strike?
Maybe 167 or 176. Sorry.
177.50 is trading at 9.55 on the ask.
What is it? What is it trading at?
9.55 on the
Oh
ask.
my God. Yeah. See, that's pretty crazy. So you'd give up $9 of profit to hold that.
That's pretty expensive.
Yeah. So I think we just got to get the hell out of Dodge soon. The good news is the underlying problem is going to get way worse in the near future. So it'll be time to get out soon, guys. So that's for pro members who have the TLT, rest assured. Probably my best specialty that brings value to this program is the ability to use the bond market to our advantage. And that's probably where most people are, a lot of you guys come in with a lot of equity knowledge, technical analysis. Probably one of the best benefits of our program is being able to help you use the bond market to your advantage. And so, yeah, I wouldn't buy the put today. It's just too outrageous. You're going to give up the whole big push, for my measurement, probably won't hold it under two. We'll see if we're holding it at 200. That's just insanity to get to
Well, the
that level.
TLT is starting to come up a little bit again from where it was when you started this discussion.
TLT is being held hostage by some super rich. It's 800 billion outstanding. And that's not funny money. That's real money. I mean, stock market, that's a bunch of bullshit. 32 trillion. There's not even 32 trillion in currency outstanding. So it's, there's obviously not 32 trillion in value in the stock market because no one could ever sell all their shares for anywhere near that.
Leverage.
Yeah. So it's like 10 times leverage the Fed's balance sheet, almost 8 times leverage. Now let's go ahead and answer Perry's question now, Ryan.
Hey, Jason.
Perry. Hey, Perry. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. I have a question and a comment. How aggressive do you think the United States will be towards trying to actually slow this down? I mean, there's so much animosity towards anybody that says that this could be a problem. I mean, I really have kind of shared with a few people, but I'm kind of keeping my mouth shut because I'm afraid of the backlash that I'm getting. When I say that.
Oh, they'll think you crazy if you say anything. Yeah,
absolutely. So, is our government going to be? I mean, I know they can't be hardcore like China was.
They are. The only way we survive this is to self-isolate and lock down. So I think they're just preparing for the lockdown. It's just foolish to think that we're lucky and, you know,
And I'm okay being a little crazy.
Yeah.
yeah.
The second thing is
Like,
my daughter's moved to New York a few
Oh,
weeks ago.
God.
Yeah,
Get the
and
fuck out of there.
and they're already preparing them to be quarantined.
Get out.
Yeah.
I would get out. I would
Okay.
rent a car and I'd get the hell out of there. I wouldn't use the airplane. Come stay with daddy for a few months here is what I would do.
so what you're
Okay.
telling me is I can't go visit my husband, huh?
I would stay put
Yes, dear.
and weather the storm. That's what I would do.
Well, they're already having them take their laptops home in case they're quarantined.
How old is she?
23.
She'll be fine. Most likely.
Well, we it may beat us back down here. You know, we're starting to have cases right here locally too. So, you know,
Okay,
it's,
so I'm afraid that's another big miscommunication that the CDC is trying to make us believe that this is only deadly for compromised immune systems and old elderly. I'm going to call bullshit on that. This is regardless of age or health.
I gotta send you an email with a link I found. Okay, I'm not gonna say any more. Because I agree.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's regardless of age or health. So
Yeah.
this is against what government's telling you, against what the CDC is telling you, against what WHO is telling you. Okay, so this is my research based on what I can find, and you got to realize government's trying to cover this up because it'll create a panic. Insiders know. That's why you have a stock crash. And it's already falling apart on us as we're live. Yeah, this is really bad. This is really, really bad. Yeah, you think I'd be jumping up and down about making money, but this is not a time to celebrate. Okay, let's see what other questions we have here. Got a lot of people live. If you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll open up your microphone next. Kathy, Tom J, go ahead, and then we'll do Kathy C next.
Yeah, just have a comment. I'm pretty much a brand new guy,
Okay.
and you guys have already saved me a lot of money.
Oh,
And
good. Very good.
So
When
I'm
did you
happy.
start?
You know, a couple of weeks ago, actually monitoring it closely.
Oh, good. Now, where are you calling in from today?
Denver area.
Oh, okay. So you're pretty close to me. I'm down in, me, Dean, and Ryan are all in Albuquerque.
Yeah, God's country out here.
Yep. Well, thank you. Thank you for the kind comments. Any questions? Or are you pretty clear?
No, I think I understand what's going on, and thanks.
You're very welcome. Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
With your crystal ball, tell me again, you think there's going to be a little recovery in SPY and then it's going to go down again? And is it the corona cases that you think are going to cause the up and down still?
You nailed it. Yep. Maybe if I really thought there was a high chance of a bounce on the SPY, I would have bought us a call option on it today. Just to summarize, the banks can handle about 1% selling a day. That's about 300 billion in sell orders. They can cover that for a couple days. Then they're out of money. What they can't handle is 2% selling. So you get 2% of the public to sell at once, it tanks. And instead of them trying to save it, they'll just, if you can't beat them, join them. So yeah, I'm afraid that we're just barely at the who knows? Maybe we go way past 200 on the TLT.
And
But,
how does oil play into this? I mean, that was like we've seen the oil decline coming, but it was a curveball to see this hit at the same time.
well, oil represents demand shock and now oversupply at the same time. So I'm not an oil expert. I watch it as a indicator for stock health. So cheap oil means bad. That means very bad things are going to happen. Probably a lot of companies are going to have to do a lot of layoffs. A lot of companies are going to go bankrupt. And so, yeah, it just means demand shock. There's no demand for industry right now. So that correlates that, hey, stocks are in trouble.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I was telling my buddy, hey, you better short oil. I think you're gonna, because he has a company that helps it sells machinery for natural gas, and I was telling him, you guys are surviving. He's like, yeah, I just had my best month ever. He had $1 million in sales. It's a small little company. So, well, I buy some put options on oil if there's a storm coming. And we're chatting all week and telling him exactly why. And then boom, he just called me last night that this might put him under. Now, if he bought the puts, he'd be perfectly fine. He'd be making more money than he ever did selling equipment, that's for sure. Karen, go ahead.
What I was going to say is with the oil, it directly correlates as well with your bond market.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all connected. All these are totally connected.
Yeah. I mean, because they have to, they're going to go ahead. I mean, they'll refinance, they'll try these guys will go bankrupt. They can't sustain. And there we go. Layoffs galore. It's, I don't think they all realize exactly what this does, It is a cascading effect. And it's all correlated. So, I mean, this, as you've been trying to keep us balanced, that's exactly what needs to happen. That's why I thought, this is coming from so many different directions all at the same time, that one's going to feed off the other, and it's just going to be a layered effect. And there we go.
It's a beautiful attack. I hate to say it. We've lost this battle. But I'm afraid the war is just beginning. Okay, next question. Yeah, accident, my ass. Chinese knew about this all the way in November, and they're trying to spout all this bullshit numbers. It's not an accident.
And they're trying to turn it around on us.
Yeah. This is the first battle of many, I believe. Okay, let's see. Next question. Let's see I'd love to hear from Scott if he's open to saying hi. Good friend. He's been around with me for years now. Used to work in the ER. You open to saying hi, Scott? Ryan, you want to unmute Scott just in case he wants to say hi? Or he may not have his mic today. Okay. Okay, next question. Who's got a question or a comment? Anwar, go ahead. Let's unmute Anwar, please, Ryan.
Hello?
Oh, there you go, Anwar. You are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Yeah, we talked a little bit earlier, and I sold TLT. You think I made a mistake to get out of it early?
Correct, I do.
Okay, so should I go back into it?
Okay, so first of all, I have to be careful about directing anybody on an individual move. So if I were to specifically manage your account, I'd have to have all kinds of legal work. So what I can do is say, hey, here's my model portfolio. Here's how I'm playing the market. And that way I'm designated more like a Wall Street Journal publication versus a financial advisor. So to reiterate how we're playing it in our portfolio, and you're in our pro program, so you're going to be following the full system. So let me just review how I have our assets allocated. Okay, so really, if we go to the summary page, we can first understand the general strategy. Okay, so the general strategy is to have essentially 40% of our portfolio trading the equities market. Now, I told everybody I think there's a stock crash coming. We got out. The day after I told everybody that, we had the biggest jump in the SPY in history. Everybody thought I was an idiot. Everybody's writing in. It lasted about 48 hours, and now we're into crash territory. Okay, so I've been telling everybody keep in cash for our Monday, Wednesday, Friday trade alert. This represents 40% of my portfolio. Okay, with only risking a tiny, less than $1,000 of the total 30,000. So we've risked extremely little and pulled some gigantic gains with that part of our portfolio. So I did not sell any of the TLT calls today, and I did not sell any of the GLD calls. I'm still holding that position. Okay, so if you had been following us, you started on Friday, is that right?
Just Friday, yes.
So you should have the, do you own a GLD call option still?
I own outright GDX.
Okay.
50.
So you have 10% GDX, which is good. That position is down a little bit today, 3.7. But I'm not concerned about that position. Okay. So that's good. The bond position, we did not exit a sell. So we still have 40% of our capital in the TLT.
20%.
40%.
40%.
So 50% totals invested, 10's in gold miners, 40's in the TLT. Now I do anticipate selling the TLT soon, just not yet. Now I understand TLT is very foreign concept to most investors. It's not a commodity like gold, where there's supply and demand that's easy to understand. And it's not a company that generates profits like an Apple or a Microsoft. It's a very bizarre product that has to do with interest rates and Federal Reserve actions.
Okay.
So I anticipate because of an economic slowdown that interest rates will go lower and the TLT can go higher. Now there's a limit to just how low interest rates can go. So that's very critical for timing when to get out. And if it were not extraordinary times, I would say get the hell out of TLT right now. Okay, we had a great run. We've made a ton of money from it. So I can understand why people want to take profits and get out, because this is not normal. And if you look at what the government's saying about this coronavirus, really, all this about 3,000 deaths? Are you kidding me?
More people die from influenza than the coronavirus every
More
day.
people kill themselves using their left hand. So that's what I don't believe. I don't believe the official data. So yeah, right now we have half our cash basically on the sideline, 40% in TLT and 10% GX. That's for pro members. If you're in our basic program, and so I'm only going to tell the pro members when is the time to get out of the TLT. Okay, now if you're in the basic program, you own TLT call options. I'm going to tell you when to sell those. And we're currently building a position in GLD. So that's really the difference. So that's how I'm playing the markets. You have to make your own decisions.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Craig Bartell calling. I haven't been on many of the calls here, but I've been following the alerts pretty religiously. I've just got a general question. If you've got a 401k with a lot of mutual fund, investments, what is, and again, I know you're not individual advice, but generally speaking, what would you recommend doing? Is this something where you want to start scaling out of those things, or what would you say? Just because I'm talking about more, mutual fund type crap, right?
Yeah, so mutual funds just same thing as an ETF, and you probably have products that are very, very close to the SPY and the TLT.
Yep.
So you could have been following our advice very closely just by looking up what was the replica of. So with one of our members, Jose, I think he was in Vanguard, and so they have two products that are highly, highly correlated to TLT and SPY. I think it was VU and one other.
Right.
So yeah, you could be following. My recommendations don't care if it's a 401k or a cash account. So it's the same recommendation regardless of where your money's sitting.
I gotcha. Okay. So
So
just
yeah,
treat it more
I would
like
get
an
that.
ETF.
Yeah, just pretend those are the same products and try to find which who's your
Oh, it's Fidelity. It's through work, so I've got it spread across a number of different, long-term, short-term growth, blah, blah, blah. There are a lot of different tickers that I've spread them across. So I'd be these probably wouldn't even mean anything to you if I read you the number, the symbols, but they're basically Fidelity funds and a couple Vanguard funds. There's a bunch.
Yeah. Well, I would try to find the most correlated to what we recommend and follow that with your 401k is what I would personally do. And yeah, these guys have a ton of products. So I'm sure you can find something similar. Just looking
It should be very easy at Fidelity because I'm very familiar with them. Some of the other ones are not so friendly and not so generous in their offerings. And that's been my battle. So,
Well, right. And there's certain limitations when you're in a 401k, right? Getting in and out, you can't do it every so often. You can't, there's some that if you put contributions in within a certain amount of time, you can't pull them out, blah, blah, blah. So it's just a lot more restrictive.
No, that's usually determined by whoever is your company that you work for and how they've negotiated with Fidelity. It's not necessarily Fidelity. That's the problem I'm having in my husband's account with he doesn't have Fidelity as there's another company and they're just a lot smaller and they paid a lot less for management. And
here's the scariest chart of the day. Okay, stocks crashing. Okay, fine. What's worse is when the corporate bond products crash. Okay. So junk bond is going to trash. So there goes Russell 2000. No funding for them. Okay. This one's been rock solid. This is how Microsoft and Apple get access to cheap capital. It's finally showing a little weakness there. If this one sells off, that's really bad for equities. Okay, have a great one, Oscar. We'll see you on Wednesday, buddy. Yeah, TLT's climbing what, almost $3 just since we've been live. Yeah, so there you go, Craig. I would just follow the program, call them up, find the closest thing to the SPY TLT. Make sure you can do options to protect. Just follow it exactly. There's really money is money. Is money. I don't care where it's hosted.
Yeah, Greg, we have a couple people that are doing the buy and hold portfolio, and what I did is I told them, I was like, hey, call up Fidelity, give them these 4 tickers, and see what their mimic product is, and they'll tell you. Okay, and then you just use that asset allocation structure we use. Okay, and then when we say get out of this position, that liquidate that fund, basically, and then we'll switch it into being long or short an asset class, and it's pretty cool because with Fidelity, there is so far what we've seen is things are definitely close enough that you can do our buy and hold strategy with that. So
okay,
definitely have quite a few people doing that.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Great job.
You're welcome.
Pleasure, Craig.
Okay, next question. Who's got a question? Okay, Gary, James Robertson, I see your microphones are open. You have a question or comment?
This is Gary Martiner.
Hey, Gary, how's it going?
Okay. How are you, Jason?
Hanging in there.
Good. Question for you. The GDX, you're not covering the GDX with any kind of options, puts or anything?
No, not right now.
Uh-huh. Okay. It seemed fluctuating quite a bit, so they seem to be holding, but and you're advocating 10%. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. It's closer to 8. So we have a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every 200 shares of TLT, I'm endorsing 200 shares of GDX. So it'll be a bit under 10% because TLT has appreciated so significantly.
Right.
But yeah, I think I think we're coming to the end of the rope for TLT. It's going to have potentially, not guaranteed, but potentially one more, at least big leg up before I'm going to get pretty concerned with holding that asset. Although the Fed does talk about basically just kind of keeping it flat to avoid a bond crash. So a lot of people want to short the TLT. I'm not sure if that's going to play out. But the dollar is really the bigger asset for the United States. So I believe that the dollar is under a attack. So if we assume that we're going to first protect the bond market at the cost of the dollar weakening, then gold will go up. So gold goes up first, then gold miners follow second. So you can understand that if gold is going up, despite a little volatility in GDX, I mean, even a 10% pullback is only a 1% drawdown in our account. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with 10, 20% drawdown in GDX because I think it's going to go up hundreds of percents. Not ready to increase that position yet because once again, I'm just looking at the way the dominoes fall. Bonds get priced to perfection. Spot gold goes up dramatically as the value of the dollar drops, and gold miners they're able to pull out the gold for about $750 to $1,000 an ounce and flip it for a profit. So they have a good business model right now. So just because of the craziness of the markets, I'm not too concerned about GDX with 10% of our capital at risk.
Any more? I mean, you have any problem with having more of it? More shares?
I wouldn't second guess the recommendations. So people do that, they tend to lose. So whatever I recommend is what I recommend.
Okay.
You've been following the program pretty accurately so far, Gary? You're doing well?
I'm working on it. Yeah, I did take some profits on Friday for the TLT. Some of the earlier calls. I had 4 and I sold 3. So made some money. Could have made more today, but like I said, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So I have 1 left and I have a couple for the other positions. So I have 5 positions.
I think we're going to, the kind of profits we just made on TLT, I'd expect to make on gold next. So.
Yeah, my gold stock is down. I bought it last Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would have a 1-to-1 ratio of TLT to GDX is the current recommendation. So if you have 200 TLT, I would have 200 GDX at this point in time. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I have to make a confession that I didn't follow the program like I should have done in the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But there's one thing that I have to tell you about that I'm really proud of is that just like everybody else who had some 401k money in a small brokerage account, I was having problems moving it over, right? But it was about 75% stocks and 25% bonds. So I just moved all the stock to cash, right? So it's like right now it's about 75% cash and 25%.
Oh, good.
But since I did that, it's going up about almost $4,000, right? Which
Very good. Yeah, sometimes just not getting
Onside.
whacked is
Nice.
good. Yeah, sometimes just not
Nice,
getting
man.
whacked is very good.
yeah, so I'm sitting here saying I've missed out on a lot of trades, but I'm very happy with the situation.
Yeah, sometimes just
Thank
not
you guys.
losing
You saved me a
your,
lot. Yeah,
yeah, sometimes just not losing a fortune's better than anything else.
that's correct.
How much would you be down today, Anwar, if you'd held your entire Microsoft Alibaba position? Any idea?
I'll be, let me go, let me just go there. I sold half Alibaba, and I'm already down 25,000.
So
And
well, look at
Microsoft,
you paid for 5 years of service just from the savings on Alibaba alone today. So that's
yeah,
good.
that's right. I bought GLD 1,000.
The call option, correct?
Yeah. No, I bought the stock,
GLD or GDX?
GLD and GDX.
Okay. So we're not owning GLD in our portfolio, just to be clear. We're only buying call options.
Okay. Yeah, I made a mistake while I was talking with you last week. And Microsoft is down quite a bit. I have a call on, no, actually a put on Microsoft. That is
good.
making a little bit of money, but not much. So I cannot sell Microsoft because I'll lose big dollars.
You can. You may lose a lot more. So
Still?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think we're at the beginning of the crash, not the end. I could be wrong. So you got to make your own decisions, not your financial advisor.
I know. Yeah.
My position is cash, and I've been telling everybody that for quite some time. Last Sundays when we officially, so we were playing it with a very, very expensive put. February 1st is really when I called for a stock crash and started buying in the money put options. So I was expecting one last pop and then the big crash, and we almost caught it. We were one trade off. So
But I'm in big numbers in the red. If I get rid of Microsoft,
tax write-off.
It hurts, hey?
Yeah, it does hurt, yeah. I wish I could tell you that the coronavirus is going to disappear tomorrow and that the vaccine will be out and that America's not going to break down its hospital system. And I wish I could tell you I thought the government wasn't lying. China's stats were accurate and that you could trust, probably the people you voted for. But I don't think more people are dying in America from using power drills with their uncoordinated hand than China is reporting from the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe that, then you should buy stocks. But if you don't believe that, you don't think China would shut down because of 3,800 deaths, then things could potentially get much worse from here.
By the way, have you seen President Xi at all lately? Just saying.
No, I haven't.
Nice, very nice. All right, guys, and great questions, Anwar. And man, I'm so glad we spoke Friday, Anwar. I think we
Me
should.
too.
Well, perfect. And one of the things I was just kind of thinking about too, when Jason tells everyone to hop back in the pool with equities, whenever that time is, right? I mean, that might be months down the road at this point. I mean, heck, maybe you can buy some calls on that Microsoft and, get some back on the way back up. But yeah, it's just tough, guys. And yeah, I tell people, look, if you're, I mean, if you bought stuff within the last 6 months before the crash happened, you know, you got to really think long and hard about those positions. And you know, you can profit. I mean, right? We're proof that you can literally make money as the market comes down. I would love doing that. Love helping investors, you know, protect their capital, right, and then profit in unfortunate times like this. Um, wow, Jason, incredible numbers. I just saw the update on the P&L. Holy moly, incredible numbers on everything here. But let's see here. Any other questions? And anyone on trial that has any other questions? I think it looks like we got the members here taken care of pretty well. Anything else? Any last questions from any of the members in here?
Next time will be Wednesday or?
Oh, great question, Anwar. So yeah, Wednesday will be the next presentation. Jason's end of it will start at noon Eastern. Okay, and then you'll also have one on Thursday because you're a pro member, and then you'll have another one on Friday as well.
All right.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, that's your schedule, and continue. Look forward to continuing to help number one, make some money while the market sells off, but also kind of help the rest of your portfolio hedge off some of those losses with the GLD calls that we're putting on here and that we put on Friday. So. So certainly look forward to that process with the Anwar, and just reach out to support@portfoliobuilder.io if you have just any questions about what we're doing and why. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a good week.
Okay, Anwar. Hey, thank you for the business. We appreciate your support and look forward to continuing to work for you for years with you for years to come. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, bud.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye, Anwar. Thanks for joining us here today, bud. Bye-bye. Let's see here. Okay, guys, any other questions? Let's see here. Anyone else? Gary, we got out here. James Robertson, any questions? Let's see here. We have Kevin, Jeff, LA, malv@gmail.com. Let's see here.
Looks like Terry has his microphone unmuted. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure I understood something I heard you say. Let me get my brains working here. Did I understand you say that you suggested to sell the TLT put?
You could sell the put, sure.
Okay.
It's worthless now, so it's not going to do us any good.
Good. Okay. And doing that, you just sell. You don't have to have a strike or anything. You just sell, right?
Yes. Sell to close. So you buy to open, and then sell to close.
Sell to close. Okay, but you don't have to worry about a strike or a time. You're just selling outright.
Not the TLT. So yeah, you could probably log into your broker, find the put, and then click it and sell it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then, and you also, if I understood, you said that right now you're suggesting equal number of shares of TLT and the gold miners.
Correct. Yeah. I'm not ready to get aggressive on the gold miners yet. So I'm still expecting some volatility. My attention is not on the GDX position. My anticipation is volatility until it spikes, and buying puts probably, I think we're so close to the big run up in gold that I'm not worrying about it.
Okay. All right. I sure appreciate you guys and all the time you put in. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Terry. Good to hear from you.
Hey, Terry. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, bud.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for everything you do.
Well, thank you, Karen.
Job. Yeah, excellent job. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it so much. Okay, guys, any other questions left over here? Hey, Gary, I see your microphone's unmuted.
Yeah, I had a question on the TLT puts. I mean, there's still 4 days left. They're worthless. They're worth a nickel. Is there even any reason to liquidate them? We just let them go. I mean, they're worthless.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. My track record, I valued them at 0. So.
Yeah, I mean, they're done. So I mean, they're always there, a safety net. There's 4 more days left, but I mean, I'm just, let them go to nothing. So there's no reason to liquidate them. even though I don't think they charge for it anymore. They used to, but I mean, that was my school. Schooling was to say, just let them expire worthless.
Yeah, you could definitely do that.
Okay, just double checking.
Let's see. I see Pat had his hand raised. Go ahead, Pat. Let's see. There you go, Pat.
Hey, I've got a question. I just fell upon you guys a few days ago, and I got lucky because my TLT did very well for me. I bought a couple positions and they're up quite a bit. But anyway, with my account, I've got some rental properties I'm trying to get rid of. But to get rid of my rental properties and invest in the stock market, I've got to be able to make about 3 to 5% per month minimum. Is that realistic with you guys? I mean, your
It's not
returns
realistic
are
with anybody. So I would take that idea and can it. You're not going to pull that off.
okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah. So no, I don't think that's something you can do for prolonged periods of time. Now, when there's markets crashing and big moves, you can make pretty substantial returns. But I would argue that nobody on this planet can make 3 to 5% a month for a substantial amount of time. So I wouldn't even try to do that.
Okay, and one more question I've got, and I know you're not an oil man, but I've been buying some calls on the USO out like a year, somewhere thereabouts. I'm buying them close to close to dollar value. Is that a good thing? I mean, I feel oil's not going to stay down. I think the panic has brought it down. I feel oil's going to certainly go up in the next 6 months to a year. Is that safe?
I don't agree with that.
You don't? Okay.
I think we're going to be in for a pretty long economic depression, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Thanks for your feedback. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I wish that wasn't the case, Pat. I would love to be positive, but yeah, if you just watch what China, if you could go back in time, go through every video I have on YouTube since January and look what China's had to do and is still doing to survive. And then realize we're probably have to take similar actions. It's common sense. So what's going to happen is we're going to have to go into quarantines and isolation for a prolonged period of time. And that hasn't happened yet. So wait until lockdowns and isolation have happened in America at a national level. And that's probably going to be when we hit rock bottom on all this stuff. That'll be peak panic. That'll be when I'm buying up or taking more risk. So yeah, I wouldn't be using technical analysis right now to predict markets or think it looks, oversold historically because of a chart or anything of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, and Pat, good to know too, just real quick. So back in 2008, oil dipped $20.
Wow.
So so just good to know. And one of the things too, Pat, I've a lot of our customers that were kind of previous real estate investors really enjoy about our program, just kind of comparing apples to apples in real estate in this. So my actual time replicating the trades last year was 8.5 hours over a year. Okay, to do a little over 15%. Real estate takes a hell of a lot more time. At least in my scenario that I've had with those investments. So 8.5 hours compared to probably a hell of a lot more work. And you can do this from anywhere in the world. So that's kind of one of the neat things for sure.
I agree 100%. I am a landlord as well.
You got your hands in all kinds of pies there, Anwar. You own a dentist's office too, is that correct?
What's that?
You own a dentistry office as well?
No, I don't. No, I own buildings and stuff.
Oh, okay.
That was Chip.
Oh, Chip.
Can I
okay.
ask you one question?
Please.
It's actually, I appreciate that you can communicate with us, and it was not the same with the other company I dealt with. That's really worth money, lots of money. I sold TLT, as I said earlier, and I bought outright GLD. Can I buy a call on GLD?
Yeah, so I wouldn't own GLD because it's owned by a bank that we don't trust. So I prefer to do the call options on GLD and own GDX. So GDX underlying assets are American Canadian gold miners.
Mhm.
Okay, so you got to look at the fundamentals. These guys are going to make more money than they ever have in the history of gold mining, period. They're going to make more money than they've ever made in the history of gold mining in the coming years. And
Is it the GDX?
The GDX.
Yeah, so GDX is down today. So you'd be like, what the hell? Why is GDX down when these guys are set to make more money than they ever have on Earth? So yeah, I like GDX.
So what is the reason why it is down? Jason?
Okay, Rocky, good question. Let me finish Anwar's question and I'll give you analysis of GDX.
Okay.
Anwar, let's finish your question. So yeah, I wouldn't own GLD because you could wake up one day and HSBC, who owns that ETF, is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we don't want to own that. Short-term call options, I like that. I like short-term call options on GLD, and that'll be our core Monday, Wednesday, Friday trade alerts. If we get a huge pullback in the TLT, I'll buy some more calls on that for sure. But it just may not happen. It may be too late. So
Yeah,
TLT, we're really well positioned for TLT. We have 40% of our assets in that in the pro. And I'll tell the pro, I won't give it away on the basic membership. So if you're trying to follow this, I will reward the pro members who do follow the pro. There'll be a time to get out, and that time's coming soon. So big push first is bonds. Second push will be spot gold. Third push will be the producers of spot gold, which is gold miners. So money is, so let's go to Rocky's question. Why the hell is gold miners down? All right, well, it's like a magnet, okay? The markets have become like a magnet where all the money wants to chase a single asset at a time. So all the money in the world currently is chasing the bonds until there's no more money to be squeezed out of it. Okay, so people are selling GDX because they think they can make more money buying bonds right now. Okay, so that's where the herd is just concentrated currently. That opportunity is going to disappear quickly. Okay, I think we have at most 4 more weeks of owning TLT before it scares me to buy it, to hold it. Okay, in a normal world, I would already be out, but this is not normal. Okay, so it's just momentum is dragging all the money into first bonds, then I believe spot gold, and then GDX. So we'll see how long GDX has some drawdown, but I don't think for very long. And in the long run, I expect it just to go ballistically up. But yeah, but first bonds go to probably, I think TLT might go to 200 before I become a chicken and get out.
So is it worth buying TLT call options still?
I wouldn't do it right now. The prices
if you expect it to go to 200, why not?
I'm not doing it in our program because the price of call options and put options has gotten outrageous. So
yeah, that's true.
The cost is when I told you guys to do it, everybody thought it was a stupid trade, right? So that's when you want to.
That was a brilliant trade.
Well, I mean, the market thought it was stupid. We had the all-time highest jump in S&P 500.
Yeah, I mean, the 157 call that you had was brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, the cost of options has gotten outrageous for TLT right now. So,
but even at the current price of TLT today, if you expect it to go to 200, it is probably worth buying TLT call options still.
Yeah. Not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah.
I've got a little breaking news here. I just got this from the local station here. Florida Department of Health spokesman Alberto whatever his name is, Moscoso, also told the Associated Press the situation in Florida is swiftly changing. There's now a new recommendation. Any Floridian, okay, who has traveled internationally should self-isolate for 14 days upon their return to the state. This is a broadening of its coronavirus travel advisory to all international travelers. There you
So
go.
it is travel to any state, to any country.
Any
Wow.
country.
Wow,
They originally had just right.
Yeah.
This is the change. It just came out as we were speaking. I just got the alert.
By the way, there is one coronavirus guy in my city, in my town, which is only 20,000 people, and there is one coronavirus identified already.
Yeah. There you go.
So it's going to get worse.
I just got a local alert. There's one in my town too, in Frisco, Texas, which is northern part of Dallas.
Yeah. So we were notified last night.
Yeah, that happened today. A new case in the North
well,
Dallas
DFW,
area.
right? DFW International. You know, I'm in an international city.
Yep.
You know, not that far.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's some maps you guys can look at online. Be sitting down when you do it, right? But yeah, there's some people that have started putting out kind of flight tracer maps, and it's just insane.
Well, I'm trying very hard to be in touch with, you know, I mean, my colleagues, of course, because I'm former, you know, retired airline.
Right.
Trying to keep in touch with a lot of them, try to get some information as much as they're getting.
Oscar just texted me that he's been informed of 2 cases in Florida, and they're getting ready for the shit show. Let's see how our prices have gone up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, this is gonna get ugly, guys.
Yeah, I think some of these media hits too, Jay. It's putting the markets like right at low. We're probably gonna get another halt here.
Yeah, it's dropped back below 7%, and so the next halt will be at 13%. But it's past that first breaker, which happened earlier, and now it's below it.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right. We got it. That's right, because it's only if it's a certain time frame towards the end. So yeah.
Well, now that's interesting. So how does that work? It's
They
7%.
don't stop it again. Once it hits 7%, the circuit breaker comes in. But then if it goes up and goes back through, that's already been tripped, and they don't halt it. They won't hit the next halt until 13% down.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I was watching the futures last night, Mark, and my screen went from green and red, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the puke! We're gonna be so profitable tomorrow." And then I just watched everything go white on the screen after, right? And Thinkorswim, I was like, "Oh, that's 7%."
Yeah. I was watching the YM. It went down and hit a hard line, and I'm like, "Well, that's really weird. What was that about?" And then I'm like, "Oh man, I bet they hit a market stop, the halting point," and that's exactly what happened.
Yep. I was watching the overseas markets and, you know, different stations, and they were talking about it. I guess it's 5% on the futures is where it locks. And then it's 7%, of course, on our markets once it opens. So, and then the 13. So kind of interesting.
Yeah, pretty crazy there. Okay, guys, great questions. Anything else out there? And Jason, if you want, if you do have any last questions, please go ahead and address them.
Should I go
Let
over
me ask
options?
another question. What do you think is going to happen given what has happened to the market today? Is this going to continue like this for a while?
Yes, yes, it is.
So the best thing is to get out of equities altogether.
Correct. Okay, guys, I'm going to review the products we offer and then do another round of Q&A, and we'll wrap it up. So we have a level 1 program for buy and hold. There's no options. And in a not crazy time, this is just a perfectly fine portfolio that does the trick, makes great returns with very little work. It's good for investors with less than $30,000 because it does take lots of 100 shares to take advantage of the option market with covered calls and put options. This sells for $1,000 a year. You get an update every Monday and get to attend 1 webinar a week. If you go to level 2, which we call the basic program, we trade Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's what you're probably on a free trial with currently. Sells for $2,000 a year. It's great for investors between $30,000 and $75,000 in capital. And again, we're going to be buying lots of 100 shares of the SPY in a normal world. Right now, we're in cash waiting for the sell-off to continue and just putting careful, tiny bets into the option market. So we did pull a 15% return this month, risking on our total asset with only risking 900. So that's about as lucky as hitting a green on a roulette table. So don't expect those sort of returns all that often. Now, I do think that there are some pretty obvious moves coming and that we could make similar returns that we just did in the near future with gold coming up. And that potentially our TLT profit has quite a bit of room to go from here. Our most advanced level 3 program, which we call the Pro system, is everything we just discussed. Plus we trade Thursdays. This, we're going to put you into the actual ETF and not just buy call options. So you're long TLT, GDX currently, and those signals to get out of the underlying will be only delivered to the Pro group. And it may not be the exact same time that we sell the call options versus selling the TLT. So we'll be playing that closely and looking at how to invest our capital when the time comes to exit TLT, which may be sooner than later. This is good for investors with at least $75,000 in capital and sells for $5,000 a year.
Yep. And Jason, just while you're on that, guys, so guys, this is very, very similar to what you're going to get with Ray Dalio's Bridgewater and Associates fund as far as protection and performance goes. Okay. But here's a couple of differences. You're not going to pay the 2% management fee and and you're not going to then give up 20% of your performance to the hedge fund. Okay. You're going to take 8.5 hours. Okay. You're going to take your time, 8.5 hours to replicate the trades to save yourself literally tens and tens of thousands of dollars in fees. Okay. To get a very, very similar, if not better performance, because your account in our business space will never be as big as Ray Dalio's. Okay. And we have a limit to the number of people we allow in our system. Okay. Just like with Ray Dalio, right. They actually have a limit on how much money that they can take in, and they're not accepting any new money. Okay. So just think about it.
Also, they will never sell equities because if they did, they would collapse the market.
Right.
So any big money manager, that's the rule. It's like, the first rule of Fight Club. Well, the first rule of Fight Club for all big banks is they never sell equities. It's against their code of law. So I highly doubt there will be very many large funds in the world that outperform us. We could call it quits right now and outperform everybody for the rest of the year because they will never sell their equities. We're happy to sell our equities because we're not, a $1 trillion fund that would collapse the economy. Hell, they would probably be hauled off to jail if they started selling equities by the government.
Yep. Great point, Jason. That's just a phenomenal point. So, if you're out there, you're thinking about this, you have $500,000 or a couple $1 million, right? You're thinking about potentially going into a hedge fund. Well, you're going to pay them a lot more. Okay. And they can't get you out of stocks. So all they can do is hedge off. And in these type of scenarios, it's just, as you can see in our track record, it's so much better to just sidestep everything, let the blood flood the streets, and then hop back in the pool when it's time to feast.
Yeah, we're going to have the best returns with the least work here, guys. And then the final package is our boot camp. I don't know what percent, a lot of our clients they slowly work their way up to the boot camp. Boot camp does have bonus trades where we're going we have 2 trades that can make 10,000%, and one's up considerably, one's not yet. So there's some bonus trades. The real reason to join the boot camp is for the education. Let's see, do we have Mark on there? Mark's probably the best honest feedback on the boot camp.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Mark, tell us your whole story. Where did you come from? What kind of courses had you already studied? Because you didn't come to me a complete novice.
No,
he got the boot camp. He wasn't making money at first. He was pissed off. He was about ready to try to get out of town with us. Just tell everybody your whole story, will you?
So yeah, I've been trading off and on for years, and I've taken options classes where they really went into in-depth studying and understanding options. Of course, in that course I took, the most valuable lesson I learned was first the mechanics of the options, and then the second thing is if you don't know the direction, it doesn't matter how fancy or simple you are, it doesn't work. And they were extremely fancy and complicated, but they never bothered helping us with direction. So I lost money on that course, and that was, I don't know, 15 years ago or so. And then over time, I've kind of signed up at various ones and gotten more into it lately, and signed up with a number of courses. And you know, they just send you an alert, and then you know you're supposed to buy, but you can't keep up with them. You're not going to make the same return that they are. And then I got laid off and started doing this full time, but I still wasn't really making money. I had one or two courses that seemed, or, you know, gurus I was following that were kind of breaking even and making a little bit of money. And then I hooked up with these guys because I didn't really know what to do with the bulk of my IRA. And I was trying things and I was losing a lot of money because they were bigger trades. And so when I saw the portfolio builders and how it was hedging, and I thought, well, that looks interesting. This is maybe a better fit than anything I've been trying on my larger IRA account. And so started following them, and you know, at first it was a little bit slow going. It's a little hit and miss on whether you made money that week or not, and or, you know, from day to day. But what I quickly recognized was spending a lot of time. They're putting a lot of effort into it, and they're teaching you. And the hallmark of any good program is how much time and effort they put toward teaching you. And there are some other good programs out there where they really do spend a lot of time, and those are, you know, those are good. And this one, it's one of those rare ones where they really spend the effort teaching you. You know, here he has a 1 hour conference call every week. It's been 2 hours, and this is normal. Yeah, it's usually well over an hour of education. And so that's just been taking my trading to a whole new level. And then he's in his boot camp. So that's a long-winded way of getting around to the boot camp trades. He's made a few recommendations, and, you know, I'm looking at it thinking, man, this makes sense. And so I'd take the trade, and they've all worked out. I don't think I've lost money on a boot camp trade, unless maybe I pulled out too early or something like that. But they've all worked out. And then, you know, this last week,
How's
I've
the
really made a
QQQ looking for us so far? Anybody know?
Hot.
Very nice, thank you.
Hot.
How much has that went up so far? I haven't checked it.
All right, hang on.
That's one of our
I think
10,000.
it cracked to over 100% today.
Dang, that's one I missed, unfortunately. Would have loved to have that one.
I got it. Wait a minute. I'll tell you where I'm at. I'm at 139.44% at the moment. Thank you.
That
Nice.
one's so far out of the money. We're just so we want that one to go a lot lower before we'll be.
Oh yeah. I mean, you are so spot on that one. Holy cow. I wish I had gotten a little more generous with that, even though I was sticking with the program, but you know how I am. I always think I should do more.
Yeah, your delta's probably at 1 by now.
I think it is pretty, yeah, we have to look at it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So we do have a boot camp, and again, a lot of you guys come from heavy technical analysis. This will be much more fundamental. So probably a lot different than anything you've seen. Now we do give you 30 days in the boot camp free if you upgrade. Normally that's a $10,000 package. So, all right, guys, let's see if we have any last questions out there. Thank you, Karen and Mark, as always, being our best commentators. Okay, Ed has his hand raised. Go ahead, Ed.
Just a quick question. I have like 7,500 in a smaller IRA somewhere else. I'm wondering what is the best way to deploy that now?
Okay, so our recommendation is currently, and that's funny that's exactly the example. So that makes life easy, huh? You would put 3,000 in cash, ready to buy the SPY. 20 shares into the TLT, 20 shares into GDX, which is going to be less than, I realize that's less than 10. Okay. That's probably be more than 40. Just keep the ratios for now. 20, 20, 3,000 in cash, and then 10 Yang. And then you have another 5%, 440 in cash. That would be relative to maybe doubling down on this one.
Yep. That's what a lot of
Thank
people
you.
are doing to it is, they'll put like the big account behind the pro, right? But then the random other accounts you've opened over the years, what a lot of people are doing is just doing the buy and hold system, but then following the pro system with their larger capital base.
Great.
That's a great idea.
Good to do. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Yep.
Buy and hold's not doing bad. Up 6.3 for 2020.
It's better than being down 9% here.
Oh man.
on the SPY if you're just that long.
Probably more than that, right?
Yeah, I'm still happy about the SPY that I converted to cash.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so Jason, I was measuring things out this morning. We were a little over 17% from absolute peak to bottom as of last night, but it looks like we're trying to crack through the lows here, potentially. Well, we're still a little off on futures to crack through the lows. So yeah, about 17% though, peak to trough here.
And this is something interesting. Guess how much time I spend looking at charts per day?
Very little.
Yeah, none. These trades are zero looking at, I don't stare at charts at all. Now, sure, I got some nice chart platforms. I look at charts, but not much. I'm not making decisions looking at patterns in the sand, you know? So.
Okay, cool. All right, Jason, any other questions about our packages, structures, anything else out there, guys? Cool. Well, and if you're on a trial, you haven't done the upgrade yet, go ahead. So in the chat box, guys, if you, let me actually just post it in there one more time. I'm going to post 2 pages in there. Okay. Or what I'll do actually is I'll post a couple links here, but the first one is going to be a page that basically directs you to what our customer base has said about us. Okay. And if you want to ask them a question live before they hop off, please feel free to do so. Okay. But what I'm going to do here, guys, is just put in the testimonials page. And then I'm also going to post in the chat box too, our options page. So you can select which way you want to start with us. Okay. Absolutely look forward to working with you all, help you protect your money and grow it with as little risk as humanly possible. And really have a great time doing this, guys. And just want to let you know, if you are one of our customers too, and you send us a friend or a family member, a loved one, we will send you a referral prize for doing so. Okay. And we have awesome gift cards for you from Amazon, anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on where they come in. So got definitely a few referrals. I love getting them, guys. Love helping, would be honored to help your friends and family. So please just, let us know. Just shoot us an email with who that person is. Okay. Just tell us their name, their email, and their cell phone number, and we'll certainly credit you when that comes through. And definitely look forward to that, guys. And Jason, any last questions or comments from you, bud?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Sounds good, guys. Cool. So can everyone see those links in the chat box? Okay. Looks a little funny on my end.
Oscar just texted me. This is playing out as you predicted. Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah, well, Jason, I want to just thank you, man. You've saved me so much money and made me so much money at this point. It's truly unbelievable. and really saved me the money too, man. I mean, if I was by myself, I probably would have switched to being net short at this point, but how much was I going to lose in that process, right? And with your guidance, I yanked everything out of my cash account last week that was, kind of just net long. Got some short positions in there, and they're absolutely killing it this week. So I want to thank you for that, bud. Okay, guys, I think we're good to go. Any last questions? Okay, guys, and if you are in the boot camp, we will be starting up the Q&A here in just a minute. Okay, guys. Well, thank you all so much for your time. If you're on a trial member and you have you have any questions, just give me a call, 505-322-7515. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time and attention. We look forward to helping you profit in the stock crash.
Thank you, guys. See you on Wednesday.
All right.
Now, let's see. Are you still on there, Ryan, or should I try to shut it down? Okay, I think Ryan went to get some. Oh, go ahead and cut this.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dean. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.